Okay, let's see here. What do I write? I haven't really been feeling it lately. Not like I did a week or two ago, that is. And this shit's gonna take some effort because I can't just phone this one in. It needs to be something special. I got a lot of formats that could work, but for this game, this event, it needs to be big. Like, I could do a review. Some people would like that. No one else would care. I could tell a story about my character like I've done before. That'll bring some people in. What if I did an analysis?
I have it. Why don't I just do all three?
Yeah, but wouldn't that be messy and kind of hard to manage?
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Hey, fuck that guy. Do it anyway.
Hell yeah.
Gonna regret it. Regrets are for one night stands. Let's do this shit.
Hell yeah, let's do this. Son of a bitch! Hey, do you like stuff? Do you want to like get more stuff? Do you like my content? Do you want to support me? Well, if you go over to Patreon right now, you'll be getting free videos that are not available on YouTube. And if you're looking for an alternative way to support the channel, you could go over to my second YouTube channel, Strat Streams, and you can become a member there and you'll get the same content as I post on Patreon exclusively. Anyway, bye-bye. Hey, how's it going? You know, like you get this burst of excitement every time you get to do something new, and then you find out that you got to go back to work and do the same thing that you've done like 100 times before. Like when you play an old game that you used to play back in the day, but now it's got better graphics. It's that kind of thing. It's new, but also old. Very old. This kind of thing tends to happen with me, you know, it's 1 week it's good, then next week it's bad, and then there's a whole lot of weeks in between they're just okay. We all know what happened last week. We were all there, you know, it was the event of the century. And here's what happened in case you weren't present, which, what else were you doing, huh? What was more important than this? See, what happened is a game company looked at one of its old IPs and said, hey, you know, what if we just like mod the shit out of this game and then release it for $50 as a remaster? I mean, we rejoiced. Hell, some of us begged like dogs at a dinner table, our hands underneath of our chins, panting, anxious, our eyes trembling and wet and doughy, anxious, waiting for an answer. Please, Bethesda, will you give it? And give it they did. Oh, they gave it good. We all, including myself, I'm afraid, shit our collective pants. Everybody else was loading up their britches because of excitement, passion, nostalgia. For me, it's because I drank a Slurpee for breakfast. I was supposed to be writing a video about Last Epoch, and I had already gotten halfway done when Bethesda announced their announcement. Today was gonna be the day. I had heard some scuttlebutt that Bethesda might actually think about dropping it that very day, right after the announcement. And if they did that, I was gonna have to put all of my other projects that I was currently working on to the side. Because this is one of those games that makes you stop everything you're doing, right? Call out of work and let all your friends and family know not to bother you. Get your wife pregnant so you can call out of work and take paternity leave. It's a schedule changer of a game. Now, I should start out by saying that Oblivion is my least played Elder Scrolls game in the series. It's the awkward child in the family, you know, the middle kid that gets all of the hand-me-downs and then hands those hand-me-downs down to the little baby in the family. He's not very special or even visually appealing, but that middle child has a deep inner life. Now, having said that, there are going to be some of you naysayers out there that are thinking, he's only in it for the money. And I'm sure that that had an impact on my excitement levels, but legitimately, I'm not kidding, I was actually excited for this because I believe that my reasons for not liking Oblivion as much as the other Elder Scrolls games came down to just simple aesthetics. The music. The music. Oh, yeah, bro. Show me some faces. Come on. Show me the faces.
Whether you're reliving these moments or experiencing
I don't
them,
want to see his face. I want to see the game character's face. Come on.
immediately looks and feels incredible.
Dude, that does look pretty good.
Master Oblivion. We wanted to make the remaster
Have you noticed
more
that
friendly to game
they have not shown anybody but the one CGI cutscene face? Have you noticed that? It's always the characters from behind.
Time someone got here.
They didn't show it. Something's fishy here. Something's fishy here, man.
Thick Dawn Cult.
The time of cleansing draws.
Whoa, what the f? What the f was that, dude? Whoa, that means they're gonna have the DLC!
All our visual goals.
Yo!
We think of the Oblivion game engine.
Oh, I'm getting it now. I'm getting it.
A wonderful place.
It's gonna be $80. How much do you want to bet? Have you noticed they haven't showed a single fucking human face yet?
Every single asset in this game
Have you noticed that?
will be redesigned and handcrafted.
They're doing it on purpose. They're either doing it to f us,
lighting system that accurately simulates
or they're doing it because it's the same faces from the base game.
We used an incredible
They keep showing it from behind, bro.
enhanced performance in our characters.
He left
Okay, that's the
warning. He did.
okay. Okay, it's the first time they actually showed it. All right.
Of our characters. From there,
Okay.
artists sculpt each race individually to the match.
Okay, that looks great.
Share the
Okay.
body, and textures. As a result, on the same base mesh, making the lip
Yes.
more effective. even
Good job, guys. You really built up.
The guild.
We have
You really built up the
simple as running
suspense there. I hate the faces from OG Oblivion. I always have, and I always will. It's not charming, despite what people will try to tell you. They're so not charming that Bethesda didn't include them in their list of charming things we decided not to fix.
and UX. It's audio.
It's the same f***ing UI.
We've updated features and systems
It f***ing sucked back then. What the f***?
inspired by the leveling systems of both Oblivion and Skyrim, so it's the best of both worlds.
Oh, they changed the leveling system. Jesus, why?
We were able to fully recreate the character models, creating a physical.
Starting to not like this already.
We also made sure to keep in all of the quirkier dialogue.
I really like the way they say hello.
The quirkier dialogue? You mean like the time that you left in that screw up in the dialogue?
We are going to steal.
I don't
one of the
really care
the Imperial Palace.
about this. I don't really care, but
The blind priest.
the updated graphics with the completely outdated animations looking pretty rough, man. Looking pretty rough.
Follow you and watch you and worship the ground you walk on.
The faces still look pretty weird, man. Okay, so here's what I think happened. They used the same transform coordinates on base faces,
Well,
and that's why some of them look.
you know how long we've been waiting?
What now? Those old faces look like they ate too much lead as a child, you know? I'm not talking about paint. I'm saying they were eating ingots of this shit. So when I saw they changed the faces, I was relieved because to increase the fidelity of the world, but not of the inhabitants, would have been a very jarring experience. But that fidelity seemed to come at a price because the footage they showed made the people look friggin' crazy. A lot of this was due to updating the fidelity of the models, but not increasing the fidelity of the animations to match. Those old animations didn't have to take account of things like folds in the skin, elasticity of the mouth. Not to mention that when you're working with low detail models, you have to compensate for that lack of detail by making your expressions more expressive in order to get across the emotion. When you have detail to work with, a simple arch in the eyebrow can communicate emotion, which is both the benefit and the side effect of higher fidelity. So mixed reactions, as you could probably tell. I didn't know what to think at the time because I was excited, but feeling a little bit more reserved. You know, I thought to myself, oh God, what if this is actually good? I mean, I'm contractually obligated to hate everything that Bethesda puts out, but if I say it's bad, everybody's gonna know I'm lying, and it might be released today before I had a chance to come up with a cover story. But I didn't want to get my hopes up on a release date. People were saying that it would drop the same day, and I was skeptical. No way they would do that. They would want to build up the hype, but then again, them spur of the moment flash purchases, maybe they would do that. And well, you know the rest.
I get to be the one to announce that the Oblivion Remaster will be available today.
Oh my God, they are doing it! They are motherfucking doing it! Dude, okay. Ballsy, real ballsy, dude. Yeah, this shit just became a fucking Oblivion stream is what this shit just became.
These are the closing days of the third era.
These are the journeys of the Starship Enterprise.
The gates of Oblivion. Beyond
$50, they're selling it for 50! Oh my God, dude, they just got so much goodwill from the community. All that bravado, all that excitement, but what I didn't realize was that there was a thought brewing in the back of my head. I was actually gonna have to play this now, and I honestly didn't remember anything from any of my previous playthroughs of this game. I didn't know where to go, I didn't know what to do, and I was gonna have to come up on the spot with something fun to do for the stream. I was gonna need to get my game face on because I thought I had at least a week to prep for this thing, and now I had 2 other projects going and I was gonna have to put them on hold to put this in the priority. And I was feeling anxious about this game releasing instead of excited now, because I sat on stream playing Last Epoch while we waited for it to download, which took f***ing forever, and I was playing silently the whole time, which must have been confusing as hell for my viewers because normally I won't shut the hell up. I was processing what was about to happen and what I was gonna have to do. It started out great. No, I mean it, it really did. Really? License agreement for a single player game? I wonder how faithful they kept the towns. Like, I hope not too faithful because, boy. I wasn't fond of those old towns. Damn, man. That shit actually looks good, dude. Kitty cats. Yo, the kitty cats look good too. They still, to this day, are not showing you point values for anything. That would have been an easy win. Show me the point values. Show me exactly what I'm getting. All right, let's see. Let's see what we can do with this. Will I go ugly? Will I go beautiful? Who knows? Place your bets now. I'm sorry. Hang on, I gotta see that again. Bro, what? Hold on. Oh yeah, dude. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. Look at that. They're like, people are gonna want to make dumb shit. So we gotta make it so they can make dumb shit. Just no chin at all. Oh God, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. All right, calm down, calm down. She looks like handsome Squidward right now. This is great. I like that, actually. This is awesome. Oh man, no, we're keeping that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make her try and look as good as I can make her, but we're keeping that mouth position. We're keeping that. And in fact, I'm gonna take it one step further and I'm gonna give her a bigger chin. I'm gonna give her a bigger chin. All All right. All right. And then the forehead, you can't have a big chin like that and have a regular forehead. You got to have a 5 head. So we're going to bring that up. This bitch look like Megamind. Oh, this is great, man. Brought to you by Pixar. That's all you could do? Wait a minute. Wait a minute, dude. Wait a minute. Oh, she's getting down with the syndrome. I'm so happy they did this. Okay. All right. All right. We're getting a little further away from God. We're getting a little further away from God. I don't know. Is that good? You think? Yeah, it's good. I like that her eyes are like this, you know, because she can see what's going on over there. She can see what's going on over here. Great peripheral vision, man. Excellent peripheral vision, dude. Stop inserting chromosomes. Dude, you guys, stop. That's mean. Dude, that is just... I gotta look away for a little while because this is so fucking good. I can't look at this bitch. Oh my god, I'm fucking crying. 10 out of 10. I don't care what the happens from this point on. 10 out of 10. It is a 10 out of 10 so far. I mean, this is everything a boy could have wanted, man. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, they don't have no boobage? They don't have any boobs in this. No boob slider. Boo! 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 That's what it's probably like on Twitter right now. It's just grums yelling at the screen. Boo! Boo! After creating my character, I was plopped into a scene that we all know very well. You're gonna die in here. You're the one from my dreams. What's your sign, girl? Oh no, I'm dead. So we start off in prison. The old man starts doing old man things like telling you about the dreams he had, and it's all just like the original. And that's the takeaway from the opening minutes. This isn't a different game. It's the same one as before, but with permanent mods attached to it that you can't officially remove. Remember, you signed an EULA at the beginning, and it specifically states that you cannot mod your game. If you do mod your game and you get caught doing it, Todd can legally come to your house and choke the life out of your newborn child while you watch. And trust me, he'll do it. He likes it. If you don't have a child, Clause B of Article A says he could substitute your child for the household pet. So be careful, man. I don't want any of you to get caught up in any legal shenanigans. So why is this thing having blood come off of it? Is that my blood? Is that my blood? Is that my blood is what I want to know. Doesn't seem like it. Let's punch the wall. Nope. Nope. No, because that's the chips. That's the chips of the wall, which means it's not coming off of me. So they made it so that when you hit the objects, blood comes off of the objects. So every object now canonically in the Elder Scrolls series has blood canonically.
We're not out of this yet.
It's nice to know they still move each other like that.
Keep moving.
So the way I figure it is if I name her Maserati, you guys are gonna go look up Maserati. And you're either gonna get a car.
Do not close this one. There's no way to open it.
Or you're gonna get a wonderful surprise.
Looks like
it all depends on you and how deep you decide to go. At this point, you gotta start asking yourself questions. Like, this is the good thing about all the ES games up to this point. You're a criminal, but what was your crime? Well, I don't know. Figure it out. Maserati was on her way to a job interview and she was late. So she had to apply her makeup on the move in the car when BAM! Struck and killed a guy who was riding in the middle of the street on a mountain bike. And she almost got away with it too. Because who here hasn't been guilty of running over a guy on a bike? Her only mistake was doing it by mistake and not on purpose. purpose. So off to prison she went. This is the first moment in these games where you get to make a decision about who your character is. And it's usually at its strongest gameplay wise in the opening moments. And combat is still a challenge, choices in leveling still matter, and the road is steep and full of dangers at this point. And the moment without the distraction of potato graphics to hold it back is even stronger than I remembered. Even the punching and the weightiness behind it feels a little better, but goddamn, it's still hard. This is I believe master difficulty, right? So might have some trouble with this shit. And they used the damn Skyrim version of the UI. God damn it. Wow. I think they actually made it a little easier, actually. Because those guys usually kill you in like 2 hits. And they usually don't die for like 30 guys. Wait, is this still on master difficulty? This, it doesn't feel like it. It is. It is on master difficulty. Damn. You know how many times I would have died in the regular Oblivion by now? It would have been a few times. At least they have a gap now. You know, the other thing that they did that really improved the combat just now is that they made it so that the rats don't spam their jump attack anymore. They have a little gap in between where they take a rest. In Oblivion, they would just keep fucking jump attacking you and you would die immediately. And the other thing is too, is that they would jump so fast at you that you couldn't strafe them. So you were getting hit by almost all of their attacks. And I want to talk about that. They did this for nearly every enemy. See, the OG Oblivion had this nasty problem, sort of like how Gothic 3 had terrible melee combat with animals, because they would spam these jumping attacks and stun lock you to death. Everything in Oblivion that had a lunging attack, meaning something that could launch the enemy forward to hit you, every enemy that had that ability would spam that attack. If you backed away from them, they would close distance and kill you before you could formulate a plan. It made master difficulty a chore to play because your only option was to strafe the enemy, and because they spammed the attack, they would eventually hit you and sap half of your life away. If you tried to block their attacks, most of their attack would get through your block, take away a bunch of your health, and eventually end up killing you. And keep in mind, while you're blocking, you can't attack, so how are you going to damage them when you're sitting there blocking the whole time? It's one of the few things that got changed from the original, and I have to say it was something that absolutely needed the change, so thank you for that. But what about master difficulty? See, in the original it said that if you increased your difficulty settings, the enemies would attack differently, meaning they'd be more aggressive, they attack more often, so on and so on, which meant that at master difficulty, as I said before, the enemy would spam their attacks. But what about the remaster? Did it keep that interesting and fun mechanic? Let's find out. You know what? He seems to be spamming his jump attack no matter what. But you see that little gap that they put in there? I mean, I swear to God, the rats in the previous one would just be spamming that shit. Now, we're gonna go all the way to master difficulty. It's definitely different because the rats in the normal Oblivion had no tells for their attacks. It was just, I'm gonna attack you. But in this one, like if you watch the rat, you can actually tell when he's gonna attack because he has a tell. Yeah, you see that little crouch position? That tell is when you need to start moving. Because if you start moving when he puts up his tell, then you'll get out of the way. You just don't have the same kind of problems that you have in the base game. Because the base game, I mean, the enemies would just spam their attacks. You couldn't get away from them. There was a whole lot of issues. And a lot of these attacks were like 0 frame tells. You didn't have any kind of way of telling when the enemy was going to attack you and when they weren't. They just spam their attacks and you end up dying. In this, it's a lot easier to tell when an enemy's going to attack. They give you tells. They take breaks in between attacks, which is a nice feature. Yeah, I like it better. It just feels better. And I wanted to highlight this because this is like the kind of thing that doesn't get highlighted enough in game reviews. It's like all those little efforts that they take to make the combat feel fair. I can't say enough good things about that. It's one of the few things that got changed from the original, and I have to say it was something that absolutely needed to change, so thank you for that. It seems like such a simple thing, but it changes the complexity of combat in so many fun and interesting ways. So there's different enemy types in the game, right? You've got guys with swords and weapons, you know, human beings or human-like enemies. And then you've got monsters, right? Monsters that have lunging attacks, biting attacks, claw attacks. So what happens is the fact that the enemy doesn't just spam the same attack and has a lot more variety in their patterns and gives you openings for attacks of your own, it really makes you think more strategically. I found myself using cover like way more often to confuse the enemies or to block their projectiles because I was able to do that. Because the enemy didn't just simply spam their projectiles, they took breaks in between to allow me to get away from the ones that could really mess me up. Ghosts, for instance. Is that a ghost? Ghosts have an attack that paralyzes you, and they actually telegraph it now. Before, it wasn't very well telegraphed, and because of the way that combat was back in that day, you would have to kill them as quickly as possible, so you just stand there and tank everything that the enemy would throw at you. But now, you can actually back away from their paralyzing attacks because you see them coming. The other change that I want to talk about, and this might actually be the most important change, is that in OG Oblivion, the enemies that would lunge forward and attack you were numerous. And one of the differences between the OG and the remaster is that when these enemies lunge forward in the OG, they would actually follow you. So while you're strafing, the enemy would actually turn to hit you. But in the remaster, they changed it. Once the enemy starts attacking, they move forward. They can no longer turn anymore, which makes it a lot easier to actually dodge attacks. You still have to time them, however, because the enemy can turn before they attack, but if you time them correctly and only move the moment their tail appears, then you'll dodge them almost guaranteed. It's the same kind of thing that games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring do, and it makes their combat feel more fair as opposed to the OG Oblivion's combat, which feels completely unfair at times. It's the best change that they made in the game by far. Did they, like, maybe you think they changed the scaling, you think? Because if they change the scaling, shit, that would be awesome. A lot of problems to get solved with the main game. Oh, that's great. Dude, the goblins actually look really good. I don't think I've emphasized this enough, but these graphics look incredible. Maybe this is recency bias or excitement talking, but I was really impressed with what they were able to get out of these designs that are nearly 2 decades old at this point. And the thing that I really like is the restraint the developers of this remaster had in reshaping the look of creatures, because let's be honest, the goblins in Oblivion are just derpy as shit. Okay, that's mean. They have lots of personality. You can look at them and see how they could have looked if it was 2024 and not 2007. The intent is there and they still look good, just a little off. But this redesign, I mean, they're brilliant looking. Just look at the detail they were able to pack in these faces while staying true to the heart of the design. To put it another way, you could tell that the originals would have looked like these new ones had the OG artists had access to the resources and computing power that we have now. And they're so close in design to the original that I can't tell if these were or were not the original models until I go back and look at the old models, and then I realize, yeah, there's no question. But that's how close they were to the original design. It's as if the remaster studio were somehow able to read the original intentions and bring those intentions to life. I mean, goddamn. No matter what I have to say about this remaster, I can assure you graphics will likely not even come into the conversation in a negative light. They nailed the look of this remaster.
That's a way to do it. But like, you don't make bandits, the enemies that you fight at the beginning of the game, more well equipped and stronger, right? You're having the player fight end game enemies.
Getting tired.
That's how you get that sense of progression with level scaling.
Damn it! It's
But like the way they did it was like the most lazy way possible.
And while I mostly agree with that, I've given this more thought and I have a theory. Well, more of a design. First, let's look at how the OG Oblivion game handled level scaling. In OG Oblivion, when you level, the enemies level with you, about once per 3 or 4 levels, if I'm remembering correctly. But in the remaster, it's every level. There's also a range for how many levels lower or higher that will spawn in, meaning you will never have an enemy that's level 1 if you are a level 9, or fight a level 17 when you're a level 4. There's a fixed 8-level difference limit, and while there is still a small chance that your character will meet a level 1 enemy as a level 20, it's more likely to be a deer than it is to be a goblin. That means you'll hardly ever be fighting something so weak that it's not a threat at all, but you'll also be fighting enemies as strong or much stronger than you are much more often than not. Also, if you stumble onto a unique item, that unique item is also level scaled, which means if you find it at level 2, it'll be a low level item forever. You'll stop using it the moment you find a level 5 magic item. Hell, maybe even a regular weapon with no enchantments. In this RPG, you don't outlevel the enemies. At a certain point, the enemy outlevels you. So it's a power fantasy minus the power. There's plenty of fantasizing, however. Lots of fantasizing about how nice it would be to not have to worry about leveling up your character, because the moment you do, you're going to have Minotaur lords roaming around the open world. It's not a perfect system by far, but there is a way they could have fixed it. Ramping difficulty is a good thing, sparingly, because your player wants 2 things usually: a challenge that they can master, and the ability to lord their mastery over the enemies. In other words, teabag a bitch. We want to be powerful, but we also want to challenge every now and then. We want to be able to barrel through and style on hordes of monsters every now and then, just to prove that we can, but we also want something that makes us focus up and hone our techniques, lean forward in our gaming chairs. We like to get better at something as well as see the outcome of us getting better. The solution is fairly simple, but I need to explain how spawning in a Bethesda game is handled. When a player enters a cell, which you could think of as a grid square in the game world, the monsters in that cell spawn in. The difficulty of those mobs is picked from a list of appropriate creatures for the player's current level and spawned in. What if, instead of spawning in a few monsters from those lists of moderate challenge level, which we've established has the effect of making your player feel like they're never getting stronger, how about instead you spawn in 1 or 2 challenging monsters and hordes of low-level mobs to surround them? Then somewhere in that cell, there's a 1% chance that a very high-level enemy will spawn with a very good piece of equipment that spawns 10 levels higher than the player. This accomplishes 2 things that the Oblivion level scaling cannot. It gives the player that power fantasy that they crave, cutting down 10 or 20 many low-level enemies with ease. It also lets the players test out new strategies, since they don't have to worry as much about dying, which lets the players explore the systems. It also gives the players the chance to adapt their strategies and hone their skills against an enemy that could actually kill them. And then it all culminates with a battle that you either win by the skin of your teeth or run away and train to get stronger so you can come back and whip that Minotaur's ass. Let me tell you why it's so important to have those low-level enemies. In large groups, they are still a threat and can kill you, but individually, they become a chance for your player to learn new moves, new strategies, and so on, and test these things out on an enemy that isn't a threat. The player learns how to control the pace of battle, how to do crowd control. It essentially teaches the player how to be creative in combat, since there's no reason not to try new things. Fighting a harder enemy discourages that kind of curiosity because you have to focus up and not get killed, so it's a good idea to space out those encounters by filling in the gaps with easier fights. You get the roller coaster of fun. These peaks are moments of power fantasy as well as the rewards for killing difficult enemies like loot. The satisfaction of feeling stronger and more skilled as a player. The low points are the points between fights where you're walking to the next encounter or exploring. It's everything that Oblivion isn't, and it would easily work within the constraints of the system already in the game. It's just something I've been thinking about since I started playing the remaster because it's the kind of thing I was hoping for, a departure from what we're used to in all the ways that matter. I guess having a level scaling system that was broken and disempowered players and was roundly criticized for being shit is just part of the charm of Bethesda games. I say that because the remaster studio decided to leave it the way it was, and in fact, they might have even made it worse. Let's talk about bullshit for a little while, shall we? What counts as charm? We could go by the definition. Charming, adjective, pleasant, or attractive. Now, when I think of charming aspects of Oblivion, I think of all those interactions that aren't supposed to be happening. Like crafting a magic spell that one-shots a Daedric Prince, or duplicating the best item that you have in your inventory 138 times, and then watching your frame rate commit seppuku. Seppuku? Is it seppuku? Anyway, I think about the character creator and how it would allow me to create any nightmare creature I could possibly dream up, but somehow made it impossible to make a normal looking human being. I think it's charming that you could pick up items in the shop and throw them around and knock every single item off of every single counter. But if we're talking about keeping the charm of Oblivion, I'm thinking about gameplay. I'm not thinking about a voice actor flubbing a line and asking the director if they could do it over again. Those kind of things I see more as like a victim of poor testing or tight schedules. This flub is only famous because YouTubers, Redditors, and shitposters all over the world turned it into a meme. And for some reason, everyone is embracing the meme as like a cultural thing. 20 years from now, the only thing that people are going to remember about this remaster is that it looked good and it had meme potential. They're going to talk about how brave the studio is for maintaining a piece of gaming history. What heroes! Game preservationists! They're doing it better than even GOG. You know, we did it for the memes, not for the art, not for the pursuit of greatness, or to make the product the best product that it could possibly be with the resources that we have now. No, we did it to have something easily memeable. Memes build excitement. Do people hate your product because it sucks and looks like shit? What if you made it suck on purpose? Huh? Yeah, you could just change the narrative anytime you want. Meme potential in aerosol form. Spray it into a bag, take a big old huff of it, and then blow it into somebody else's face. 100% infection rate, no survivors. These memes didn't arise organically. There's no kid talking about his love of turtles.
I like turtles.
Or have you ever?
Want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Perfect! Isn't it funny that of all the things that they could have kept, not the iconic leveling system, none of that. No, we're gonna keep the meme. We're gonna keep the major up that would be embarrassing to literally any other company out there, and they would have set about immediately releasing a patch to fix that. No, they kept it in there. They kept it in there on purpose. Don't you see that? It isn't a mistake. It's funny. Don't you see that? It insists upon itself. It's a hastily painted sign that says, "Do you think think I'm pretty? Check yes or yup. Goddamn Minecraft movie comes out and it's not even a goddamn movie. It's more like a handful of memes that were strung together in a pattern resembling a movie. And people still cream of mushroomed their jeans over this movie. Why? I don't know. I really don't. Will somebody fucking me? Let's get serious here. We've all seen firsthand the terrible power of memes. How they lure you in with their funny, keep you coming back for quick yucks, and the next thing you know, wham, they're all strung out on Hide the Pain Herald, or you're at the theater getting arrested because a zombie rode a chicken. If you don't think leaving in a flubbed line is a big deal, then you don't ever get to tell me or anybody else that you play the Elder Scrolls games for the immersion. You understand? Because I don't think there's anything in this world that could take me out of a game quicker than a voice actor asking a director if they could take that line again. And like, isn't that kind of disrespectful to the voice actor too? I mean, everybody makes mistakes, right? We expect that. But you made her mistake famous.
All on the same night. Wait a minute, let me do that one again. I heard the thieves broke in.
And instead of letting the voice actor correct their mistake, you made it more famous. Charm is semi-purposeful. There's never been a time in my life where I was charming accidentally. I always knew what I was doing, you understand? I always had a purpose for acting charming, you know? For instance, having Martin and Joffrey follow you around while you do every side quest in the game is charming. It wasn't meant to work that way, per se, but it was the system working as designed. The player thought up a way to beat the game with its own rules, and that is what makes it charming. The player broke the game, not the developer. In fact, I would say that it is one of the elements that makes this game a sandbox. But the AI for the companions is so broken now that they're almost useless. They don't enter dungeons, they can't even follow you right, they might as well not even be there.
Nice of you guys to join me. About damn time. Why? But the thing I want to know is why Joffrey and Martin are not with me right now. Guys, where are you at? You know, I bet they fixed this whole issue with them following you by not allowing them to go inside of places. How much you want to bet? I will bet you $5 imaginary dollars. Come on, guys, get over here. Yep, that's what they did. How about taking an inferior UI, porting it into a new engine, gussying it up like a pig in a dress, and ignoring the fact that no one liked that shit in the first place, and it's not charming. It's annoying. Of all the things you could have fixed, the UI would have been the least controversial thing you could have changed. I bring this all up because I think it's important to know where I'm coming from, to know what I was expecting, and in a way, what I expect from a remaster in general. I think of a movie or game remake as taking a game and remaking everything from the ground up and only reusing things that are iconic about the original. Think Resident Evil 4, for example. In a remaster, you're increasing the fidelity, boosting certain frequencies and lowering others, or in the case of games, polishing up the rough edges on an already good product. The irony being that remasters are kind of wasted on good games. The purpose of remastering a good game is to keep what people liked, the story, the level design, the interactions, and fixing what modern audiences can't put up with. Potato graphics, shit UIs, and broken gameplay riddled with glitches and bugs from the original game, plus a few new ones. But what does a remaster for an okay game mean? What complexion does it take on when the game has both potato graphics and wonky gameplay? Well, this is where we come to a confession. As I was playing the game, I was getting this
sinking feeling. The longer I played, the more I complained, because while I believe I like Oblivion, there were plenty of reasons why I never went back to it. As I escaped the sewers and emerged into the light of the outside world, after several minutes of load screens, of course, I was hit with a revelation. I couldn't remember where anything was, or what missions would be exciting to do. And as much as I try to ignore that nagging feeling, it was becoming more and more obvious what the real problem was. I'm gonna have to come out eventually, so I might as well do it now. I wanna fuck Harry Cynical. I mean, just kidding. His tits aren't big enough.
Here we go. That is probably the first crash. Yep, that feels like a crash. Oh. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Spoke too soon. Sorry, I'll back off. Do your thing there, video game. Yeah, dude. This don't feel right. Holy shit. Actually, yes, I did put it on my SSD, so keep that in mind. Yeah, it runs fine, dude. After all that talk about level scaling, it's only natural that we talk about the difficulty in this game. As is a motif for this video so far, we're going to talk about a problem that the original game introduced and how the remaster decided to handle that problem. But also this comes with a little bit of complexity because as I've been playing this game, it starts to get a little hard to tell what problems were introduced by the original game and which problems are introduced by the new one. So essentially, where does the original end and the remaster begin? What is a new problem? What is an old problem? What belongs to the OG and what belongs to the original? And I thought about it, and you know what I decided? It doesn't matter. One of these bugs was in the OG. It doesn't matter. If it wasn't fixed in the remaster, as far as I'm concerned, the remaster shit the bed, made a total mess of things. I tell you this now so that you can decide what you're gonna do with the rest of your free time, because if you think that there's some sort of distinction between the old and the new, well then you're gonna wanna back out of this video slowly, because this video is definitely not for you. I don't think it matters, because in my opinion, and that's what this is, folks, it's my opinion, if this is a remaster, then you're supposed to fix the things that are broken. It doesn't matter how charming it may have been, that's your job as a remaster. OG Oblivion had issues with difficulty. I think we can all agree on that. The middle setting was fairly balanced, but also very easy once you got into the higher levels. Any difficulty above that, and you're gonna be hitting a wall. The problem is that the difficulty is compounded by the level scaling issues. If you aren't leveling your character correctly, even easy difficulty can become a downright pain in the ass. If you move the slider to the most difficult position, the difficulty went from fair to absolutely unplayable without exploits. If you want to know more about difficulty, go check out my previous video, Broken Games Are Better, and that goes into it in way more depth than this video will. Short story, they multiplied the enemy health and attack power every notch until the enemies had so much health that you'd break your weapon trying to kill them. And that is goofy as shit. Anyway, how did the remaster handle this issue? Oh, it's funny, dude. Look, how many hits did it take to kill these guys? Just one level up. Like, this guy would have been dead 3 times over and the difficulty just below it. Like, that doesn't feel like a good ramp of difficulty. I'm gonna try this again. I want to count how many hits. 1.
My sword while you can.
2. 17, 18, 19. 19 hits. 19 hits. Okay. Now let's put it down one. 19 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 hits. He gains 3 times as many hit points. Okay. Now I want to try one more thing. I'm going to put it up to the next level. I have a feeling the master difficulty, he'll have less hit points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. Nope, he's definitely not going to have less. 7, 8. All right, well, I think we know he had more hit points there. He had about twice as many as the previous one. So adept to expert, it's 3 times the amount of HP. From expert to master, it's twice the amount. So 5 times the amount as adept. Yo, okay. That's very strange. So how many hits will it take to kill him on apprentice, I wonder? 1, 2. I guess we're gonna keep it on adept because going up even 1 tick makes the combat a little ish.
Do you know why most difficulty levels in action games suck the fat one through tiny lips? Because they use a crutch. See, so long as games are using this crutch, they will always have a limp.
You know what? Blocking, man, I am blocking. We're going two-handed. I want to get these guys out of there, you know?
When you lean on increasing the health of the enemy, you're trying to inspire the player to be more careful or experiment. But no one wants to wail on somebody for minutes at a time while allowing for 0 mistakes.
Ooh. Was that 2 hits? Damn.
If you spend 2 minutes wearing an enemy down just for them to kill you when you only have 2 hits left, that's a surefire way to sell more controllers, because your customers will break theirs in half. So what players end up doing is adopting the only strategy that results in them killing the enemy before they have a chance of hitting the player. The player will inevitably opt to making a glass cannon. They do this because you made it take longer to kill the enemy, and the player has less mistakes that they can make per second because the enemy also hits harder. You force the player to figure out ways to exploit your systems to make the enemy die before they have a chance to kill the player. It's simple math. Lately, you've seen a lot of studios opting to go in another direction with difficulty. They're still pushing around percentage points, but they've eased up in some of those increases. Games have went the route of increasing the damage for both you and the enemy while keeping the hit point values the same. This is actually pretty great and can be a lot of fun for games that don't have hit scan weapons, but actually takes skill and positioning and mastery to get better at. It also has the side effect of making the combat feel more deadly, which might encourage other styles of play. For instance, if you have an option for talking your way through a fight or engaging in the fight, if the combat is deadly, you might be more inclined to pick your fights a little more carefully. But if you have a game where everything scales with you, you're expecting to get better as a character, more powerful, more resistant. You can't feel that way if the combat is just as deadly as it was when you were a rookie. There is another option, however, and to find out what that is, we need to talk a little bit about a game you probably haven't heard of. It's called Doom, and it wasn't that popular, but you know, hear me out. It's pretty good. Doom had 5 levels of difficulty, and these are, in my opinion, one of the best difficulty settings in all of games history ever. The default level of difficulty is hurt me plenty, but one step up or down and things start to change. For instance, the enemies that appear in each individual level have tags that make them appear only on certain difficulty levels. So the harder the level, the more difficult combinations of enemies appear. You get pinky demons earlier, cacodemons where they weren't found previously, and in some levels, even the placement of keycards has changed. In essence, the difficulty changes so much about how the game plays that it feels like you're playing a mod pack compared to the modern day difficulty settings of modern day games. The other thing this difficulty changes is the aggressiveness of monsters. They attack faster and more often, as well as move around the level faster. All these factors means that the player not only has to master killing each individual monster and understand their weaknesses, but because these monsters are always in groups, target prioritization becomes that much more important. It's dynamic difficulty that means something. Having to hit an enemy 10 more times to kill them doesn't make it harder, it makes it more tedious. And that's the important thing to understand here. You made a remaster of a game and you left in all the tedium. I don't think you're supposed to do that. Now, there are ways that they could have very easily changed the difficulty in Oblivion for the better without having to change anything fundamentally. This fix would work without any source changes, just a few changes to global variables tied to a slider in the options menu. For instance, having a slider for enemy damage and enemy health would have been a change that would be so impactful that I would be singing the praises of this remaster right here, right now, from the top of my lungs. We didn't get that though, did we? We got essentially nothing. They left in the tedious bit because, as we've established, that's part of the charm, right? But here's the thing. Oblivion gives you a really impressively good time in the beginning. The early levels of this game are satisfying as hell. The combat is so dope now. We'll get more into it later, but damn it, this combat is so satisfying to play. The game is good. I like it. I'm liking everything so far. Very good. Maybe a little too faithful to the game, I'm gonna be honest. But that's probably what people expected. It's probably what people wanted, so I don't blame them for that. I myself would have liked to have seen improvements in level design and basically everything. But something like that's probably out of the scope for this. I love that they show my face. Okay, so I don't know how I feel about this. So this is a departure. I mean, I guess it's better from a player standpoint because you have to like do less of the whole targeted grinding, but it also makes the skills a little less important in terms of leveling, you know, like what skills do you level before you level up? So that's not even important anymore. You just put as many as you want, up to 5 into any skill you want, no matter how you did things. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It's okay. It's an alright system. I don't know. Just, you know, kind of makes the whole skill system a little less important. I don't know. A crotchety old man, what can I say? Those are just the kind of things that make me mad. There's plenty of things to compliment this remaster on, things that aren't as tangible or meaty as new graphics. The combat, for instance, just feels different. It has heft and weight to it. Weight that you can't really see in the first-person perspective. It's mostly present in these new animations and the proper third-person camera. Whenever I play modded Oblivion, this is always one of those things that I quote and quote fix. But to be honest, no matter how many times I've tried, how many mods I've installed, I've never been able to get it to feel as good as it feels in a remaster, and I imagine that has something to do with them porting it over to Unreal. In fact, I had to go back and play the original game to feel just how bad it used to feel because this new mode, it feels so natural, so native to the game that it's hard to picture it without it. But if there's one thing that Oblivion is known for, it's known for its wacky NPC conversations. So, did they keep in the conversations, the radiant AI? Yeah, I mean, technically it's in there. Okay. All right. Wow. It's a very a living, breathing, vibrant world. Just look at all these interactions. I mean, I'm overwhelmed. There's just so much going on.
Wow. All right. Talk to you. Yeah, maybe you could. Yeah. Can you tell me why you're just standing there?
Farewell.
How are you?
Okay. You?
Okay.
Really? What a shame. Bye.
Goodbye. Hello there.
A coin for an old beggar.
And I hate to say this, but this isn't the only time this happened. Just one of many. It's hard to notice sometimes when it's happening because it's like this in so many other games I've played where the NPCs are basically window dressing. In fact, it's like this in so many other games that it doesn't feel weird when it happens in this game. Except when you realize you're playing Oblivion and it's supposed to sound like a cacophony whenever you enter a town. It's a testament to how special the Elder Scrolls series is that you notice even the small things are missing, because even if they can be annoying at times, you still miss them when they're not there. All of the jank contributes to the whole. The intention was there, the execution was a little off, so the remaster had an opportunity. Sometimes they nailed it and changed the right things, and sometimes they ignored glaring issues. It's uneven, just like the original.
Does the controller not work on the main screen? Is that what we're seeing here? What's going on? Continue from your last save game. If you could do that, that'd be great. Wow, very cool. Very cool. Very cool. I didn't do anything. That's just how the game is running right now. I don't know what the hell happened from yesterday to today, but Discord is wide open. What is going on with this, man? What the f is going on, bro? Anybody else having problems with this kind of shit? Where every time it has to load up the open world, it just stops? Okay, well, I think this is a little ridiculous. All this is, by the way, this is all on an SSD. I didn't make the same mistake I made with Starfield. I put that bitch on an SSD. Actually, an NVMe, actually. So, should be a hell of a lot faster than it is. Well, I'm just gonna take a quick nap. Yeah, I just wish there was more gameplay. It's a great game. I wish there was just more gameplay, you know? I mean, it was a cool idea to just have your game just be an image of a load screen, but, you know. Holy shit, wow! Okay, does anybody know how many minutes that was? Anybody that's on YouTube, can you rewind to the point where I started loading that and tell me how long did it take to make that shit work? All right.
My second day started out kind of rough, you know. Took several minutes for me to load my save, and then when it finally did load in my save, I got greeted with broken AI again.
My shoulders are gonna be f***ing howling tonight. Yeah, they still have more of these NPCs that are just standing there.
Now with a remaster like this, or a remaster where they took the old engine, docked it into another engine, and updated the graphics, it's sometimes difficult to tell what has been changed and what hasn't been changed. What has always been broke and what has just recently broke. This is one of those cases.
My God. Did they break the AI on that? Hang on. I just want to see something. Yeah, they broke the AI. Because the AI is supposed to walk over here and watch us.
Did the AI break, or was it always broken? And I booted up the original Oblivion to see, because this is one of those things where I needed to see if this was a feature in the original or not. I needed to confirm it. All right, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He doesn't like that he can't see me, so he's coming to check. I'm gonna go up here first and just check real quick. Well, I think we got our answer, huh? And unfortunately, it's not really all that straightforward, see, because what happened is the longer I started playing the game, the more I found out that some of these AI bugs are intermittent. So sometimes it breaks and sometimes it works perfectly fine. Sometimes the shopkeepers come look for you and sometimes they don't. It's very uneven, as is the theme for this remaster. I'm not quite sure how they managed to break it so intermittently, or even if this was a part of the original game. I have to admit, this is another one of those issues where I'm just not sure if the remaster introduced this or if the original introduced this. See, while many people hated this in the original game, I thought it was a layer of complexity that the game sorely needed after Morrowind. See, there was a problem that the devs needed to fix that got introduced once they started leaning into some of the more simmy aspects of the game. The problem was theft. Theft is a mechanic that players now expect from Elder Scrolls games because it has been a staple of gameplay for them ever since the beginning. But the issue is, thievery is way too powerful and destroys the balance of the game. For instance, a player could go into the first shop they see in Morrowind and steal everything off the shelves, sell it all, and buy the best stuff in the game early. As you can imagine, this destroys the balance in the early games, so the devs had a choice. Make thievery dumb by hiding the items the NPCs sell in a chest that's buried underground like they did in Skyrim, or they could stick with the system they had in Morrowind but make it harder to steal or break into a place while the shopkeeper is watching you. They chose to make it so if the player is doing anything suspicious, like crouching behind a shelf, the shopkeeper will come and investigate. If the player is going somewhere they shouldn't, like upstairs or by the basement, again, the shopkeeper comes to see what you're doing over there. It makes sense and it's believable because people in real life do that too. It was a great system, but now something about going over to Unreal made it so that the AI lost an IQ point or two in the transition. But something I noticed about the old game once I opened it up after having played the remaster was, and holy shit, these faces are god awful. See, I knew they were bad. I knew this before opening it, but seriously, I had forgotten just how bad they were. And because of this, I take back every negative thing I said about the faces and animations in the remaster. Compared to this, I'm willing to put up with any depths the Uncanny Valley can throw me down into.
What you holding there, lady? Huh? What you holding there? You holding your dick? Huh? You holding your dick? You're holding your dick, aren't you? That's cool. Good for you. Looks like you got a big long one too. I'm gonna see something real quick. Oh no, it's just broken. It's just buggy as shit. Like the original.
There are so many little bugs in this remaster. Like, there's still bugs left over from the original game too, which I could spend an entire video talking about how much that pisses me up a wall. But before I go off on a tangent about that, what's up with this UI? Every time I come in here, my character is empty-handed. Now, you may think that's not a big deal, and granted, it isn't terrible.
And I can't tell if she has a shield equipped right now, because dude, this thing is so buggy, bro. Okay, so I do have a shield equipped, it's just not showing. Okay. What the f, dude? This seems like a very basic thing you would have caught in testing. Of course, this Bethesda we're talking about, they were probably like, okay, so hey Bethesda, yeah, we got a few bugs that we need to iron out, you know, some really obvious stuff that we were kind of leaving to the end of development so that we could like work on it at the end, because they're not like terribly important bugs, but they are like bugs that people will notice, and right? And Bethesda's like, yeah, just ship it. Nah, it's fine, don't worry about it. People expect to have these kind of things in our games. It's fine. It's fine. In fact, it's part of the charm of Bethesda games. Hey, fuck.
I guess I can live without a functional UI, but when I come into my inventory, it's usually to see what I have equipped and to compare items.
And quite a lot of people actually has some problems with this. Where are my gloves? Am I not wearing my gloves? Hang on a sec. Always something, man. This game is so fucking buggy, dude. Holy shit.
If I can see what's in my hands, it saves me a whole lot of time scrolling through these shit-ass menus to find my equipment. But even if that doesn't bother you, which I totally understand, doesn't it bother you that one of the most obvious goddamn bugs, the one you'll probably see the most, is not one of the ones they decided to fix? Because it bothers the shit out of me. They had to have known about it. I've been experiencing since I started playing the friggin' game. No way they never ran across it. And then there's the way that the AI just shits the bed and stops working entirely. I honestly never remember this happening in the base game, and I'm sorry, but that's a serious bug that someone should have fixed before this shit went gold. Then there's just weird stuff like this clip here, which either shows that I'm going senile early or Oblivion makes no impression on casual players.
Okay. Did Oblivion have animation canceling? Because I want to show something here. I'm going to have to go onto my old Oblivion install and check this. But like, if you hit the left mouse button twice, watch. Okay? One more time. You see that? Okay. All right. Now, if I want to interrupt it, I cannot. So after I hit it twice, I'm hitting the block button right now and I'm not getting the block.
So no, there isn't animation canceling. It's kind of weird that I thought there was, but here's something I did notice. The block comes up way quicker in OG Oblivion, and something that you can't do in a remaster is hold the block button and attack while blocking. See, I do this because it's a lot quicker to just hold the block button and attack than it is to let go of block, then attack, then press block again. You block more often, and it's just more reliable in general. What happens in a remaster is, when you're holding block, it disables your ability to attack, which is clunky as hell, and I'm not fond of it. Then there's this new bug, a combat bug, which really affects gameplay.
Did you see that shit? I was not holding the block button. Hold on. Hey, oh, hang on. Let me do it. Yo, that's so f***ing weird. It didn't do it again. I thought maybe it was like a bug. But like what happened is I held the shield and I clicked my attack button and let it go, and the shield just stayed up. I don't know what the hell was with that, but that was really strange.
What happens is, if you hold down the block button and then hit the attack button, not only will nothing happen, but sometimes you'll keep blocking long after you've let go of the block button, which means you can't attack while this is happening, which makes melee combat, especially in higher difficulties, pretty difficult. Then there's a bunch of tiny things like the shortcut keys for opening menus not also closing the menus. So for instance, I can open my map with the M key, but I can't close it by hitting the M key again. Or like when I want to look at the local map, I have to zoom all the way in to see it, which, let me tell you, took an age for me to figure that out. And because the zoom level changes on the map whenever you enter into a new zone, trying to find your way around the dungeon is a pain in the ass.
Okay.
Then there's visual stuff like shadows. Lord help me with these goddamn shadows.
Yeah, the shadows are kind of me up, man. There's a noise pattern to shit, like this pattern and noise that's very ugly. Let me just see something. Yeah, that didn't do anything. Looks nice though. Okay, Oh man, the shadows are still noisy as shit though. Okay, I don't like this, man. How high do I need to have these shadows be in order for there to not be that weird noise? Jesus Christ. Okay, so the shadows are quote unquote better, but the frame rate took such a massive hit that it's unplayable now. And the noise is still there.
A lot of these issues introduced by the new renderer could be fixed by adding more options in the graphics settings. Let's look at these grass shadows. In the original, I remember being able to turn grass shadows off. And let's be honest, they look like ass. And this isn't just an Unreal problem. You see this kind of thing in Unity as well. It turns out that self-shadowing grass is pretty hard to do in real time, so what most engines do is this sort of cross-hatching pattern, and it looks like ass. Give us an option to just turn it off completely. I'd be happier without shadows at all. But then on another character, the shadows started looking fine. So this isn't a permanent issue, it's intermittent, and it only seems to happen with certain options like DLSS turned off. When you turn on things like FSR, the shadows start to actually look like how they're supposed to. So you can't get shadows to look good on grass unless you have AI turned on.
I wish there was a way to actually turn the shadows for the grass off. Damn, I really wish there was a way to turn the grass shadows off.
Speaking of DLSS, there is a ghosting problem and it's mind-bendingly bad.
And look at the way their hair moves. Like, look at it. It makes me feel like I'm hallucinating. What's up with that shit? Is that some sort of like AI rendering bullshit? Because that's what it looks like. That shit actually hurts my eyes to look at.
Said I'm Bitneld, the Curse Bringer, captain of the Coral Guard. What can I do for you?
Bro, do you see what is happening to the hair every time they move? The hair doesn't move with them. What is up with that, man? It looks like shit.
Be seeing you.
Dude, it looks like shit and it hurts my eyes. So let's see. DLSS frame generation requires GeForce RTX 40 series GPU. I don't have a 40 series, so why the f is this turned on? But let me look at what he's got going on now.
Please.
No, dude, that is just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's still doing the same shit. Even with the settings to high and DLSS turned off. It's very off-putting. I don't like it.
You too.
It's actually hurting me to look at.
There's an obsession with game devs now with all this new tech, DLSS, TSR, all these fancy sounding names for tech that makes the graphics more difficult to look at. Like, can we slow the hell up? Hardware has gotten so good now that at this point, we can make games look so goddamn good with shaders that were released over a decade ago and wouldn't cause people to go broke buying video cards that no one can afford anymore for the cost of a used car. Also, why did games all make you install the 4K textures regardless of whether or not you have a 4K monitor? Like 120 gigs is not a small amount, you know? So maybe give us the option of not bloating our install with shit that we will literally never use. We need to pump the brakes on this shit because DLSS is here to compensate for the overambitiousness of the art department and the demands of the board. My question is, who cares if you could squeeze a little more compute power out of your average GPU if the results make your friggin' eyes bleed? But let's go back over the old bugs that they didn't fix, because these are bugs that Bethesda has known about for over a decade. Not only did they never fix them in the OG game, which is bad enough, but they had the golden opportunity to do it with this remaster, and they still didn't make it a priority. Again, is it because the bugs are charming? Because I don't find them charming, I find them obnoxious. First off, how the hell are you gonna remaster a game that was full of bugs and weird ass limitations that made no sense even at the time and not fix any of those things? Let's go down a list, shall we? The game still deletes your saves, it still corrupts your saves. The so-called Kvatch bug that gets you stuck in the courtyard is still working as intended. They got rid of the dupe glitch, but they added a new one. Have to repair them first. Yes! It still works! Oh my god, that's hilarious, dude. That is hilarious. That shit still works. It's great. You can still level up to max at level 2 with a glitch by spamming quick load while resting. Alright. And then quick load as this is going on. I see how it works now. Oh man, this, yo, brutal. All right. Quests that were bugged in the original are still bugged in the remaster. The main quest can just disappear out of your log, making it impossible to complete. Equipping a shield and torch will sometimes cause all of your items to be equipped at the same time. Now, I heard that they fixed some of the old bugs, but I don't know. It seems like a lot of the bugs that got fixed may have gotten accidentally fixed when migrating engines. I guess the thing that really bakes my potatoes is simply the fact that this was an opportunity for Bugthesda to shake off their mocking moniker and do it right for a change, and they decided not to. And that really is a shame, because even though Bethesda isn't the one that made this remaster, you could bet your boots that they were the ones calling the shots. Is the leveling and enemy scaling any different from the OG? Boy. I don't know if the scaling has changed. The level system has definitely changed. I don't know how I feel about the leveling system yet. It's probably better for other people probably think it's great, but I don't know how I feel about it yet, because I was quite fond of the way they did things previously. In this one, you get, no matter how many skills you level, you get, I think it's 13 points to put into your attributes, and you just put them in to whatever 3 attributes you want to level that level. And that's great. That's more flexible, but like, part of the charm of these early Elder Scrolls games is the quirk of that system. Like, they even had it in Skyrim. So for the most part, they had it, right? You couldn't level up a tree without leveling up the skill associated with that tree. In this game, it doesn't matter. You can level up whatever the hell you want and put points into whatever the hell you want, and none of it matters. That may make things easier, but I don't know if it makes things better. I can't believe it took me this long to talk about this, but at this point in my playthrough, I was really starting to think about the implications of this new leveling system. In OG Oblivion, you had major skills and you had your minor skills. In order to level up faster than the enemies, you'd pick skills that weren't very good for your build, and instead you'd level up the minor skills because those didn't count towards gaining a level. As you level up those skills, you build up a multiplier for the attribute that is associated to that skill. So for instance, blade is associated to strength. So if I keep leveling up my blade skill, I will get a +5 multiplier on my level up screen for strength. Your goal was always in the OG Oblivion to get a +5 modifier to all of the major attributes that you use for your characters, everything that's important. So like a fighter might be leveling up strength, endurance, and agility, and a mage might be leveling up endurance, intelligence, and willpower. But you want to get a +5 in all of those things. So the only way you were able to do that in the OG Oblivion was to stack a bunch of minor skills for things that will level up that particular attribute that you need, and concentrate on leveling them up. You had to level them up 10 times in order to get a +5. If it was a major skill, you only had to level that skill up 5 times. But the only problem with that is that those 5 levels count towards gaining your next level. In this system, you had had to pick skills that you barely use as the skills that you're most talented in, and on top of that, ensure that those skills don't start out too high. You want them to start low because every 10 levels you get a new level, right? So the lower those starting major skills are, the better, because you're able to squeeze more levels out of them. Are you starting to see the problem here? The game wants you to play in the most unintuitive way possible so that you could keep up with the level scaling of the enemy who is leveling with you. The leveling system was fine. There actually wasn't anything wrong with it as far as I was concerned. The real problem was how the levels of the enemies scaled with you. In fact, I would say that the leveling system had that charm that Bethesda's always banging on about, because it was something that the studio was known for. In fact, it's probably the most unique thing about a lot of Bethesda's early and later Elder Scrolls games. It's the thing that I know I remember the most from those games is that skill system. The system worked fine in Morrowind. In fact, it was better in Morrowind because you had major, minor, and miscellaneous skills, and you had more skills in general, hence more options for builds, more options for leveling, and so on. And even better, you didn't have to maximize your leveling in Morrowind because the enemies didn't scale with you as hard as they do in Oblivion. You could get away with not maximizing your level gains because the game wasn't built with the intention of making you do that. Oblivion absolutely was. The problem is not the leveling system. The problem is, and always has been, the aggressive enemy scaling. You fix that, you fix the entire leveling system. It's as simple as that. I think the real reason they did this was not to fix the problem with level scaling and the late game. I think the reason they did this was to fix the leveling system itself. I think they changed it in order to make it be less work in order to maximize the gains of your character, which takes away a lot of what I liked about the original games. I actually liked doing that work. It's a video game after all. Rewards shouldn't just be handed to you. You should have to climb some mountain to get there. This is the thing I don't like about it. You used to have to actually work at increasing your stats. I think it took a lot of depth out of the original game. I'm sure people will like it, and you know, I'll be the only person criticizing that choice. If you look carefully, you can see the light go out of my eyes in that clip. Instead of fixing the scaling, they took away the one thing that really sets those games apart from the competition and replaced it with a system we've seen a million times before. Hell, we even saw it in Daggerfall. Now when you level up, you get 12 points to distribute into any attribute that you want. On one hand, this offers you a lot of flexibility. You get to make really weird builds without having to worry about point spread and worrying about taking useless skills as majors to game the system. On the other hand, you took the depth and believability out of the system. God, and this is the funny thing about this leveling system, right? Is that it doesn't actually make any kind of sense, like logically. Here's my argument for this, why this doesn't make any sense. I just leveled up 7 times, 7 or 8 times, and all I did was pick locks. That's it. That's all I did for all those levels. How did my strength go up? How did my endurance go up? How did my agility go up? Isn't security an intelligence skill? If it's agility, okay, fine. I can understand that, but like, what about this increased my strength? You understand what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any kind of logical sense on its face. Boy, leveling up has never been this easy. I'm gonna max out everything before I get to level 10. Everyone is saying that jumping in place 100 times is boring. And you're right, it is. But if you want to get better at jumping in real life, then you had better work at it for a really long time. And I don't know if you've ever had to do this, but working out can be pretty boring. In other words, it's immersive. It makes you feel like you're working hard to achieve a goal. Yes, that is technically grinding, but I'm going to be real with you. I'm starting to understand the appeal of grinding in certain aspects, so let me explain. There are certain certain skills that won't increase quick enough through normal play to max out by the end of a playthrough. Skills like acrobatics, security, heavy armor, illusion, and so on and so on. They are occasional skills, right? But on the occasions that you need them, it would be nice if they were good enough to work reliably. So to level up acrobatics, you might spam jump up a hill. It levels up faster and you get character levels as a result. It's a win-win. You work really hard at it for a while to get that level up to a certain point where you could just start playing the game normally and not have to worry about leveling up that skill. To thank you for your effort, the game rewards you, for instance, higher jump height with acrobatics. The reward is much more impactful because of the work that you had to put in to get it. It's a dopamine feedback loop. The more effort that you expend on something, the greater the dopamine reward will be for the player. This type of loop doesn't suffer from the diminishing returns of smaller, more frequent dopamine rewards. Therefore, a carrot at the end of a really long stick is much more effective at every stage of gameplay because the reward is long-lasting. It diminishes much slower. In the previous model, you got a big shot of dopamine after getting a skill high enough to see a difference in how it behaves. The larger waves are accompanied by a bunch of smaller shots every time a skill levels up. This all culminates with one massive shot every time you get a new character level. It gives you a massive dose of dopamine because on the level up screen, you get to see the results of all that grinding that you did. You are rewarded once again with a +5 in the 3 skills that matter the most and impact what you do the most. It's an awesome feeling because it feels impactful. It feels impactful because you did the work to get there. I will admit, it doesn't feel good to do that 20 friggin' times. So you can't force the player to maximize their level because that could get really tedious, especially for players who aren't used to that kind of grinding. Now that skills don't impact multipliers, you have a situation, quite honestly, where once you've leveled up your important attributes to 100, you have no reason to keep leveling up.
What's faster than leveling in an Elder Scrolls game? Nothing. I am leveling up right now. All I'm doing is hitting a button. And I'm hitting a button on a tumbler that I haven't even set. Oh, and I should probably mention this. Maybe some of you are wondering what happened to Maserati. That save file corrupted. So yeah, that's a thing that still happens. Isn't that cool? As you can tell, I'm having a whole lot of fun. Oh, man. See, everybody keeps saying this is the fun part of the game. And I keep thinking to myself, really? This is the fun part of the game?
For me, I capped 2 of my most important attributes, endurance and strength, at level 10. Now, I would technically benefit from agility, but I don't need it. I could survive without it, because if I don't level, then neither do the enemies. I could stay a little boy forever, and the game would be a lot easier and a lot more fun because of it. But that's the problem. I'm not playing the game the way the developers intended it to be played. In fact, does anyone know how Bethesda intended us to play this game? I mean, it's all a bit muddy now, isn't it? By saying the bugs are a part of the charm, Bethesda is telling us they meant to design it this way. It wasn't accidental to the design, it was intentional, which means they meant up, and that makes everything a-okay.
Somebody help! Come quickly! We've got a burglar!
Yo, Joffrey, shut the f up, dude. What's wrong with you? Hole.
Somebody help! Come quickly! We've got a burglar!
Joffrey, I'm about to punch you in the sucker, dude.
Stop! You violated the law. Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Your stolen goods are now forfeit.
Do I even need to say anything about this? Everybody seeing this? Okay. Not just me, right? That seems undesirable. It does not seem like the designer's intention. Really, Joffrey? Really? Bro, like... I love how Joffrey and them are just watching this shit happen. Like, yeah, it's cool. Don't worry about it. We're gonna let him die. We're gonna let that character die. F him.
Paid the fine.
Well, Joffrey, with the death of this character, you have severed the threads of faith. Charming, isn't it? It's the kind of thing that I remember the most about my playtime with the original Oblivion. I remember the unintentional hilarity, all the bugs, the tension being undercut by a man swimming in a pool with no water. I remember it not because it's desirable, but because it's memorable. I think I can kind of explain this with a story. All right, so I was about 35 and I was about to go on a date with this girl who was about 5 or 7 years younger than me. And I was really excited because I had no business pulling off what I was pulling off, you know? It was awesome. And I wanted to be an impressive little man, so I went out and bought a suit jacket at Kohl's. Now, I know I said I wanted to be impressive and still went to Kohl's, but I assure you, the irony is not lost on me. As I was walking out of the store with a jacket that was within my price range, that didn't make me look like a loaf of bread that was baked inside of a belly shirt, I saw a girl about 7 or 8 dancing in the street just off the curb. I smiled and walked past, but something hit my eye. I wasn't sure what it was, but I also didn't want to hang around in case my curiosity be misinterpreted by an angry parent. So I hurried to my car, sat down, and peered out the corner of my eye. And what did I see on the ground in front of this dancing child? It was a dead bird. And she wasn't dancing in the vicinity of this bird, like the bird just happened to die on her dance floor. No, she was dancing for the bird, pointing at the bird while singing into an imaginary microphone. This shit was choreographed and it was perfect. I mean, she really nailed those moves. It's too bad that her audience was dead because I think they would have really enjoyed it. Now, did I remember that moment vividly from that point on? Yes, I did. Was it impactful on me? Yes, I think that goes without saying. Is it because it was a good memory of a good thing that happened? No. I remember that memory the same way I remember my nightmares. I couldn't forget it if I wanted to. So, the question pops into my mind, and I think it's relevant to this conversation. Was she practicing her routine for her later performance? And is this the first time that she's performed this song for a dead animal? And most of all, did she kill that bird? It wasn't there when I went in. But most of all, did Bethesda forget that there's a difference between a good memory and a bad memory? The same way people who were being canceled used to say there's no such thing as bad publicity? I didn't remember what it was like to play Oblivion when I first started playing this. I think I made that clear. As such, I don't remember the quests being as obtuse as they are in a remaster. I mean, I know they are, but Jesus. I got this quest from a random conversation in town. A guy was selling a nice house in town for a low price, so I bought it. I came in and the place was a mess. Shit strewn everywhere, tables overturned. It looked like a place you go to shoot up drugs. Turns out, it's haunted. Not a huge surprise, to be honest. I think I've seen about 20 episodes of Scooby-Doo that started out the same way as this quest. Said I heard a crash from downstairs, but apparently they didn't mean the basement. Okay. But in every quest I had done thus far, there was a blocker of some kind. In one instance, I couldn't explore a catacomb because there was a locked door and I didn't have any lockpicks. I didn't have any lockpicks because I wasted all 30 of them on a single average difficulty lock. I'm freaking awful at the lockpicking minigame because I don't waste my time trying to get good at something I hate, or Daedric missions that I couldn't do because I was too low level. Ooh. What? What? That's a skeletal hand right there. That's a hand that is skeletal. Or, as was the case with this quest, blocked because I didn't have enough money to start the quest. Like as was the case with several quests where I failed to find a key that opens a door, or I'd get to a place in a mission where I'd get stumped and I'd get bored and do something else for a little while. The door thing is an Oblivion vanilla issue. I understand wanting to keep the player out of certain locations, but I took lockpicking as a major skill because I didn't want to deal with shit like this. And Bethesda
Bethesda's response to that was to make a skill a little less useful, all because of what? You're afraid the player will opt to take the shortcut and miss all that stuff you have planned? So what? Why do you care? Mind your own business, level designer. Until you get used to how things work in this game, you likely won't have a good first impression.
Oh my God, is that a note? Look at that. How the f was I supposed to see that? If somebody hadn't said there's a note right next to it, I would have never f***ing seen that. This part in particular is interesting because I'm not sure if this is the fault of the remaster or something to do with the original, but as I said before, I don't think that's important. If there's something wrong with the old version, the remaster is there to fix it. So let's examine this. You have a situation where you want to increase the graphical fidelity, as you should. The original was already dated looking when it released. It has not aged gracefully, but by putting in this increased graphical fidelity, you've made things like quest items much less visible. This house looks amazing at night. If it weren't an Elder Scrolls game, I'd bet this could be a scary sequence with just the ambience alone. My point is, it looks incredible, but you can't see the quest item in this kind of darkness. What to do? I have an idea. How about you make the scrap of paper a scroll or a book instead? Does it have to be a scrap of paper? I mean, look at it. It looks like a piece of ceramic that broke off the vase, not an important quest item. So again, this sort of plays into the theme of the video. Why didn't you buff out the sharp edges? You got ghost splooge everywhere. Damn. Very impolite. Very impolite to spooge in somebody else's house. It's a little tip from your internet dad here. It's really not appropriate to do. I'm gonna read that note a little more thoroughly. I probably should do that. Yeah, I guess I just don't have it. Okay.
So at this point, my journal was updated. I read the note, the quest advanced, or so I thought, and I was ready to find this bastard and tear his guts out for scamming me.
The diary makes mention of a secret room in a house and only a true. Okay, you know what? We're gonna have to go to where I met the guy, see if I can get some information on him.
As soon as you bought the place, he pretty much up and left. I hear tell he's making his way to the Imperial City.
Ooh, he has a quest marker now. Now he's in real trouble. I put a GPS tracker on his ass before he left. Oh, I forgot. It's very hot out today.
Welcome to the King and Queen Tavern.
Hey, I'm looking for this guy.
Arrived in town recently. I believe he's staying at the King and Queen Tavern.
Is that not where I am?
Farewell.
I want to say that's where I am, sir. Why are you saying it like that? That's weird. I'm not going to be happy if I f this up. Shit. What is the Tumblr exploit? Oh, really? This is awesome. Oh, this is great. It's part of the charm, baby. Come and get your charm. Come and get your charm. Come and get your charm. Oh, yeah, man. I fingered the shit out of that Tumblr. All right. This is level 36. Wait, does it work on this one? It works on ones that you didn't even set. Dude, I mean, okay, look, man. I'm not going to complain about this too much because I really needed this exploit right now. But, like, is it not absolutely shocking that they did a remake of this game and they left all of these crazy bugs in. How much longer should I do this? Don't stop, I'm close. Did you like the way I was working that hole? My playthroughs, no matter how pure I try to keep it, always degrade into something like this. I run into a problem with a skill, and there always seems to be an exploit there to help me out. I want you to think about this. Does this bug make the game better? I know that sounds weird, but it kind of does, doesn't it? Like if you had to level up lockpicking to 100 by just playing the game normally, well, I really don't think you'd be able to do it. But doing this exploit does nothing for me from an enjoyment standpoint. You know, the only thing this is doing is just making my hand hurt.
Just imagine what an impossible task it must have been to take this game and remaster it. What do you change? What do you fix? What do you leave alone? It's not really as simple as I make it sound because the audience has their own expectations, and those same people will be pissed when they find out that their favorite exploit got the axe. The same way people were complaining about Rogue Trader patching all of the exploits that they use to make their builds viable in that game. A lot of people said they stopped liking that game and never played it again just because the soldier got nerfed. But what does that say about the quality of the game that it needs bugs to make it fun to play? That without them, the quality of the game will have diminished somewhat. When Fallout 4 came out, there was a lot of hand-wringing about the bugs. Lots of people saying the same old tired bullshit like, the bugs give it personality. But I want you to, for one moment, imagine Oblivion perfect. No bugs, a completely overhauled difficulty slider, accompanied by a reworked level scaling and enemy spawning system. Graphical overhaul, a UI facelift for both mouse and keyboard with a separate UI for controller, each one customized to take advantage of the unique way that each control scheme works. Every quest bug fixed, no crashes, no memes. Wouldn't that be nice? I think that is the future that we should be fighting for. I will sit here in this chair eating and shitting and sleeping until I get what I demand. Perfect games without a single flaw that costs $10 and lasts me 500 hours. I don't think I'm asking for much.
I'm sorry, I can't help you with the curse. You bought the house. You'll have to deal with it.
Now, let's talk about this seemingly innocuous piece of dialogue. When he told me that it was my problem and that I would need to deal with it myself, two things went through my head almost immediately. What was my disposition with him currently? And secondly, what if he's right and I missed the secret door back at the manor? It never occurred to me that the writing was unintentionally misleading me. Well, I don't think it goes any higher than that.
Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to kill this guy, doesn't it? And I will very gladly do that, but let me pick his pockets real quick. No.
Fingers to yourself, thief.
He doesn't have his money that I gave him. Probably will, but I want to kill this guy first to see what happens.
Die! Take the fine!
Unconscious? Excuse me?
Why?
He is...
You! Die!
Okay, so I know it when I know that people hate it when I talk about Morrowind, but in Morrowind, I would have been able to kill that guy, take an item off of his body, take that back to the house. Like, if I had his blood, I could take that back to the house and lift the curse by getting into the secret room, right? That would be the thing that I'd be able to do. But they were like, in this game, nah, that sounds like too much work. That sounds like too much work. Let's not do that. That sounds terrible. See, I think this is why I don't play Oblivion, really. I think this was the reason. Because it was like the first step towards Skyrim.
I was stumped at this point. I tried everything I could think of, but none of it worked. So there was only one thing left to do in my mind, and that was to go back and find that secret door. Maybe there was something back there that would advance the quest line.
I'll go back to the house, maybe. Maybe there's something I missed in the house. Quite possible. I do miss shit a lot. shucks, mister, thanks. I've already been down in the basement, but you know what? Maybe I should go look in the graveyard. Or that, catacombs or whatever. Ghosts. A bunch of ghosts. Look at you. You're a special ghost. You're gonna tell me I'm not gonna find nothing in here, am I? I'm gonna come up completely empty-handed. Yep. There's nothing here. Man, I just assumed that there would be something here since this is where the guy used to come to get bodies.
At this point, I was exhausted with this quest. I had barely finished 2 quests in 4 hours, and it was all due to bugs like this.
Hey, what's going on there, fellas?
No time to talk. Go away. Just go away.
No time to talk. Go away. Stop talking. Enough.
Someone should teach you some manner. No time to talk. Go away. Stop talking. Enough.
I really don't want you around me.
Am I missing something here?
Someone should teach you some manners.
I don't have time for you. No time to talk. I'm done talking to you.
Leave me alone.
I'm genuinely confused right now. I'm genuinely confused as to what is happening right now. Does the game expect me to oh, okay, yeah, right. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta go after the guy named Storn the Bully or the Burly. Thank you. Okay, now you and me. Now it's time for you and me. Now, see, if I saw that happen right there in front of me like that, to see like 2 of my friends just get took out, I would be backing away for the door, man. I wouldn't like be like, yeah, let's go, me and you. I'm like, nah, after what I've seen, I'm out, son. Bye-bye. Just like they got weapons and she just got hands.
It wasn't a smooth experience, to say the least, and it hadn't been the moment I started playing.
I don't know how to describe what I'm feeling right now. This game is making me feel stupid. It's making me feel really stupid. And I don't like it. I don't like that at all. I like to feel smart. Not the opposite. All right, well, I am going to stop for now. I will probably be back around tomorrow. I'm gonna kind of like try to figure this shit out offline. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I don't know what's going on.
I came back later that night after having read several posts of confused players trying to figure out what the game expected of them.
I read a bunch of tutorials on this quest, and apparently, it is not very straightforward. And quite a lot of people actually has some problems with this. Apparently, you have to, you see this little piece of paper right here that you can't actually see, you know, that blends in with the tiles that's so small that it couldn't possibly be the thing that you need to pick up here. Yeah, you're supposed to take this and then you're supposed to hit A, take it. I didn't realize that. I thought reading it would be enough since reading it updated my journal, but apparently you're supposed to take it. And once you take it, then you can go up to the guy who's in the Imperial City and convince him to come along with you. Even though you have 100% persuasion on that guy, even though you have 100% persuasion on that guy, you are still not able to convince him to come with you. You also can't just knock him out and take his blood off of his corpse or any of that kind of shit to finish this quest. No, you have to do it the way the quest designer intended you to do it that one way. It's very annoying, man. It's just shit like this that just like reminds me why I don't play this game.
And when I discovered that I needed to pick up the diary entry, I was flummoxed. Why did he tell me I needed to take care of it myself? Wouldn't it have been better to give the player some kind of clue? Watch how easy this would be. Hey man, I need to lift the curse on that manor you sold me and you're gonna help me. Well, I'm not going anywhere until we have a plan. Back at my grandfather's manor, there might be some kind of journal entry or something there. I mean, I would go back and look to see if you could find out how we could stop this curse. Oh man, I was just there. See, problem solved. And you could even be a little more obtuse about it, right? You could say, perhaps there's a record of my grandfather's dealings somewhere in the manor. If you find something, bring it back to me. It's as simple as that, man. And for people like me who were tricked into thinking the quest advanced, it would have triggered us to go back to the house and pick up that note that we read.
I don't know where he actually is. I don't remember where he is in the quest. The markers are gone. So I have no idea where this guy actually is because the quest log doesn't tell me where he's staying. Okay. Actually, I might be wrong. Maybe the quest log does tell me. Let me go into the quest. Do you know how many times I've done that? I literally have done that every time I want to open my menu. All right. So let's see. I found Velen at the King and Queen Tavern in the Imperial City.
You're a persistent one. According to the diary entry, it seems that I'm the only one who can open the secret door. And I can't help feeling slightly guilty selling you the place under these circumstances. I'll meet you in Anvil at the Count's Arms. From there, we'll try to lift the curse together.
Could just go directly to the house. You know? Save me the hassle of having to burn up alive. It's like, you go in here, and then the marker disappears again. So which room is he in? Where is this? Where is this guy, dude? Where the hell is he? Was it really taking him this goddamn long to get down the street?
You're looking rather bad.
What are you doing, sir? It shouldn't take me 3 hours to finish this quest. It's so buggy. Well, dude, would you get the out of the way, moron?
Lead on. Did you hear a noise?
Good thing I remembered how to do that. I'm gonna tell you, Velwyn, you make me want to stop playing this game. This quest sucked.
After all is said and done, the end of the quest was quite good. I rather enjoyed it at the end, but everything leading up to it was so bad that I nearly stopped playing after I beat it. And like I said, I had 3 other experiences that day with similar problems, and it all seems to boil down to the remaster breaking things that used to work and not fixing things that were already broke. Like for instance, the NPC AI. More often than not, it simply breaks and you can't move forward until you find a way to trick it into working again. I remember the first time I played a character off stream. Valrus got stuck on something and couldn't bend down to look at the Emperor's corpse. This meant that I was stuck there until the game corrected itself, which it never did. So I think it's hard to know what to think of this remaster because of the Bethesda bug. Is it supposed to be that way, or did they screw something up? It's Schrodinger's glitch. It's hard to blame the remaster for something that was screwed up in the original because their stated intention was to keep it as close to the original as they could, but did we actually want that? Because for people like me who are frustrated by the lack of QA on the original game, this is like putting out a cigarette on my nipples. In the end, I don't think I hate Oblivion. I just hate the loss of what it could have been. At the end of the day, I think the question I have is, what was the purpose of this remaster? Was it to just update the graphics like you did and keep the base gameplay as close as the original as possible? Because if so, great, because that's exactly what you did. But by doing that, what you're doing is sending a message. You're saying that this game was perfect the way it was, and the graphics were the only things that needed improvement. I don't think that's true for Oblivion or any game. If you ever have a chance to go back and fix a game like this, it should be treated like an opportunity to show what you could have done if you had more time, more resources, and better technology. I want to put this bug in your ear. What if Obsidian remastered Knights of the Old Republic 2? The public would rejoice, and the game would find a whole new audience. But what if instead of fixing the bugs, or finishing the broken quest lines and include a proper ending, all they did was make everything look prettier? Would you be satisfied with that? I wouldn't have wanted to see them add a bunch of new quests with different writers to Oblivion, or deleting old quests to make the game flow better. That would piss me off and everyone else. I mean, just look at the new content that was added to the Baldur's Gate 1 remaster. Does anyone like that shit? The answer is no. No one does. And if you think you do, then you're mentally ill. Congrats. Now go get the right meds and take better care of yourself. Remember, self-care is healthcare. We're talking about taking something that is old and making it play like new, making it modern, buffing off the sharp edges and fixing what used to be broken. If that's the stated goal, then what you're saying is that this game is a cultural milestone and should be respected. As such, it's worth putting effort into making this the ultimate experience of this important game. You pay respect to Oblivion by trying to make it as good as it possibly can be. Where do you draw the line? I don't know. What's tasteful to change and what's distasteful? I think it comes down to this. If the game still accomplishes what it used to and does it in more or less the same way, then the heart of the game is still intact. And there's nothing classier than healing the body while nourishing the mind. I'm not sure if that made sense, but I'm keeping it in because it sounded pretty. Despite everything, at the end of my playthrough, after my save got corrupted, after starting a second character and playing more and more of Oblivion, through the crashes, through the infinite load screens, through the bugs, I kept playing even when I no longer needed to. So, despite everything I've said, I like this remaster. I like it not because of the bugs, but in spite of them. And while we're on that subject, I know it's funny to say that the bugs are an integral part of Bethesda games, but please stop. You're giving Bethesda the wrong idea. Now, let me bring up a tier list here. This is what my list looked like before the remaster came out. S tier was Morrowind, of course. I'm sure no one is surprised by that. In A tier, I had Daggerfall. In B tier, in the Dark Horse move, we have ESO. And in C tier, we got Skyrim, then Oblivion in D. But after the remaster, I have to say, Oblivion moved up to B tier. Yeah, that's right. The remaster with its pretty graphics, improved gameplay, and charm has convinced me that I don't hate Oblivion. In fact, I may actually freaking love this game. Okay, love ya, bye-bye.